Welcome back to not the Stick 'em Up podcast, but to the Stick 'em Up YouTube channel. Today we are doing our top 50 current NHL players. We've done this before. I believe the last one we did was at the start of the calendar year, and now we're doing it at a couple weeks into the NHL season here for the 25-26 season. This one we're doing exclusively for YouTube. This one isn't an official Stick 'em Up podcast episode, but we want to throw this in somewhere. So yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. It's always fun to do lists like this. Not gonna lie, this is the second time we are recording this. I corrupted the file. I goofed it, so we're redoing it. And since we did that, we've even made a couple changes to the list. Um, but with that said,
Over the span
I
of
guess
a day and a half, we made some adjustments.
yeah,
Only
yeah,
minor ones, though. Like only within the bottom five.
bottom five. Um, with that, I guess before we get started on who's on that list, we should go through our honorable mentions that we have here. Do you want to hit us with these honorable mentions? I don't know if you have much to say about each of them, but
Yeah, the honorable mentions will kind of just rip through, and then once we get into the top 50, some players will talk about a bit more than others, but the honorable
yeah,
mentions will just kind of rip through and get out of the way here. So we have Charlie McAvoy, who we had ranked 31st, and our rank. Oh, I should say our rankings that we have here from last year is from the beginning of the calendar year, as we did it
yeah,
at the beginning of the year 2025, but now we're starting to do at the beginning of every season.
makes more
So
sense at the start of the season. Yeah,
yeah. So we had Charlie McAvoy at 31st. Tim Stutzel, honorable mention, we had 39th. Mackenzie Weegar, we had 49th. Jake Sanderson, making his first appearance, was not ranked. Thomas Harley was not ranked. Miro Heiskanen, 28th, so a bit of a fall for Miro Heiskanen.
he did have injuries
He
last
did have
year.
injuries, and a lot of the players that we put on the list had really good years last year.
Yeah,
Matthew Boldy, not ranked. Jake Ottinger, not ranked. Mikhail Sergachev, 44th, so falling off the list here. Cole Caulfield, not ranked, but continuing to skyrocket on our lists here. Dylan Strome, not ranked. Dylan Larkin, not ranked. Lucas Raymond, not ranked. Steven Stamkos, not ranked. I don't know how you managed to squeeze him in here right now. Ilya Sorokin, 46. He was one of the two players that actually was removed from the list within the last 24 hours here. Bit of a run of rookies here. Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard, Lane Hudson, all of them not ranked.
even Matthew
Mark's
Schaefer we could throw on there. Frankly, like
Yeah,
it's a
Matthew
very short
Schaefer's
sample
already
size for what we've had to see, but
is looking really good for
looks good
sure.
for next year's.
Mark Stone, not ranked. Adrian Kempe, not ranked. Brad Marchand, not ranked. Gustav Forsling, not ranked. UC Saros, 43rd last time, so he falls off the list. Travis Konechny, 40th, so he falls off the list. Elias Pettersson, 33rd. I don't know what we were doing there. It fell off the list. And then Kirill Marchenko, not ranked, but making his first appearance in here on the honorable mention slot, but still part of the list here now.
Yeah, no, it was tough. Like I swear, we did this last year, and it the guys at the bottom in that 45 to 50 range, it really felt like we were getting to those really good second line players, and now this year we're doing it and it's like everyone's a first line guy, and plenty of those honorable mentions are the best at their position on their given team as well. So
Yeah, there's
there's been
a lot of
ton
good
of improvement.
players. Absolutely. So it's kind of tough that we had to leave some of these guys off. I'm sure some of these players who play on a team that people that are watching are fans of aren't going to be happy. And it's not easy. We can't please everybody, but again, this is just our list, so you don't have to take it as the gospel or anything.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we can now officially move on to the top 50, the players that did make the list. Braden, do you want to hit us with our first few here? However many you want to do?
Yeah. So we'll go through probably in groups of 5, I think. So we'll start with 50 to 46, that being number 50, Robert Thomas, who was not ranked last year. 49th, Ovechkin, who was our lone honorable mention the first time we did this. We kept it to one honorable mention before, and that was him. 48, Brandon Hagel, who was not ranked last time. Nick Suzuki at 47, who was also not ranked last time. And Jesper Bratt at 46, who was 41st last time. So he falls down a little bit, but I think it's more of guys passing him than him actually really falling on the list. Like,
Yeah.
those are some great players to be at the bottom. It's crazy how much skill there is right now.
And it's an interesting grouping at the bottom because you can make the argument that, Jesper Bratt, Suzuki, Hagel, and Thomas are all like they're all in that same group of players. Like they're all guys that are going to be in that
Very
probably
comparable.
85 to probably like 95 point range around there. And, they all excel at kind of, both ends of the ice. I think especially Hagel and Suzuki, especially on the defensive side, have really, you know,
Yeah.
blossomed within the last year and a half. So it kind of felt right to have these four together. And then Alex Ovechkin, I mean, there's people that believe he might have fallen off, or they say his defensive game is washed, but again, he was second in the league in goals last season, and he had a broken leg in the process during the season. So it just felt wrong if we didn't have him on here. Is maybe he has regressed a little bit, but the goal scoring is still there, and still right now you can't have a top 50 without Ovi.
When people talked about Ov in his prime, before he was falling off at all, nobody was talking about his defense anyway, right? Like that's not
People
what
just
he
love
brings
using
to
that
the team.
argument now, though. Yeah, it's
And
it's where we're at now.
and it is a little bit worse than it was, and his physicality's definitely slowed down. It's still there for sure, but
Mhm.
second in the league in goals. You can't not be on the top 50 overall, being second
Yeah.
in goals.
Yeah, and when you look at this list, I think especially guys like Suzuki and Thomas, especially, I think are guys that have a very good chance of climbing this list.
Yeah.
As it just kind of seems like they continue to get better and better, and well, I'm curious to see where we might have them next year. But that's all I got for the bottom five. We can move on here to 45, 41.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
at 45, we have Anze Kopitar, who was ranked 29th last year, and this obviously, will be Kopitar's final appearance on the list here, as we know he won't be an option next season. 44, we have Mark Scheifele. He was ranked 38th last season, so a bit of a fall for Scheifele. 43, Jason Robertson was ranked 37 last season, so they stayed the same. They both fall a bit, Robertson and Scheifele, but they're still right beside each other as we had before. 42nd, we have Sergei Bobrovsky, who was not ranked last season. And at 41, we have John Tavares, 48th. And I will say, we do have a few goalies in here. Again, like we talked about in the other recording we did that no one will ever see, it is impossible to compare forwards and defensemen to goalies.
Yeah.
So we just kind of picked spots in here where we felt like goalies fit the best. And it's just kind of the way it is. So, if you really care about our rankings that much, just pay attention where the goalies are, and then you can basically just see where we have the goalies as. Again, you can't compare goalies to forwards or defensemen. So we just kind of threw them in where we felt they fit best.
Well, and we already didn't have a ton of goalies, but we ended up making that decision to take Sorokin off the list last minute. So, I think we're down to how many goalies are on the list? 4, I think.
I think only 4, yeah.
I think Bobrovsky is the first of 4 to show up.
We did have 3 in the honorable mentions, so there's that.
And we're hoping they bounce back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kopitar's been great, falling down the list a bit, but still making it on the top 50. He's gonna be a Bergeron type. I mean, in many ways, but especially it looks like he's going to retire kind of on top. Like he's going to be one of the best at what he does when he decides to hang him up. So
yeah,
congrats to Kopitar there. Robertson and Scheifele, both incredible players. Like it's especially Scheifele had a very good season last year. They got jumped by a couple guys that have been moving up the list that we'll get to in not too long. Bobrovsky, I mean, starting goalie on back-to-back cup wins, like how can you not have him on there, right?
You
Like,
got to include him. Exactly right.
and John Tavares, I believe he had another 40-goal season last year. Like, great season from him. I know a lot of people were wondering, there's the whole captaincy change. Now he's got a new contract going into this season. Like, how would he handle everything? And like, he almost looks like he's getting a little bit better these past 2 years compared to maybe the 2 or 3 before that. It
It
almost looks like
almost
he's
it
getting a
kind of
little
does.
better.
And we'll talk about it, more later in the week here when we do the podcast. It will be available everywhere, not just on YouTube. But Tavares did. I mean, he did just hit 500 career goals, so
Yeah,
it's a guy that he continues to find ways to score and produce points, and also has done a very good job lately of elevating those who play around him. And I think that is, very important for him at this stage to bring the best out of whoever's with him, and it allows him to be a better player in himself. So
yeah,
definitely deserves moving up in this list. And again, it kind of hurt bumping Kopitar, Scheifele, and Robertson down, but it is just due to how many young guys have really blossomed um, over the last bit here and have really made a name for themselves and deserve to be much higher than they were last year, or potentially their first time on the list. But with that, we can move on to, we're now in the top 40 here. Do you want to hit us with
40 to
you
36.
next? Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple of those guys that would be the ones leapfrogging them here. I think we got 3 guys in this next group that were not ranked before. We got at number 40 Sebastian Aho, who was 47th last year, so he moves up 7 spots. 39 Clayton Keller, who was 50th on our list last year. 38 Jacob Slavin, 37 Evan Bouchard, and 36 Marty Natchez, all 3 of which were not on our list last time, which
I also
feels kind of crazy.
forgot
Those are
when I,
3 very solid players.
yeah, I was just thinking when you're moving the list over, I totally realized we did not have Seth Jarvis in the honorable mentions. He didn't get moved over into the list here when I moved it. So just
Hmm.
want to throw that in there because Seth Jarvis deserves to be part of the honorable mentions. But back to the
No,
top ones
absolutely.
here. I mean, yeah, Sebastian Aho and Clayton Keller, both on the list previously, but both moving up, both having extremely impressive, seasons last year. And I thought Aho was, again, good in the playoffs for a team that kind of struggles when it gets a little bit deeper. I thought Aho still um, did a really good job at doing what he does, and that is being an electric player, and again, still being Carolina's top player.
A
Clayton
little bit of an
Keller,
underrated goal scorer for Aho as well. I
yeah,
think a lot of people look at him as a very primarily playmaker guy, but he's one of those guys where I feel like he can put up, you know, 40 goals, 50 assists kind of thing. Like he can score pretty well.
yeah, and I mean, same can be said about a guy like Clayton Keller too, who was
Yeah,
at the very bottom of the list at 50.
I think he had 90 points last year on what was the Utah Hockey Club, leading them. So,
And only one of, what was it, 9 players to be over 90 points last season. So,
yeah, like there wasn't
I mean,
many.
he really had to. I mean, we already knew he's a good player, but last year really did feel like kind of a breakout year for him, and he is getting a lot
Yeah.
more attention as being one of the better players in the game. Slavin, Bouchard, Natchez, all first time on the list. I mean, Slavin, Bouchard, actually, I'll kind of let maybe you explain it a bit more because you kind of explained it why it made sense
Yeah.
to have these two like right beside each other as their first times on this list here.
Yeah, as we were planning this list, I was kind of thinking to myself like, you know, there's all these guys like Bouchard or back in the day like an Eric Carlson who they are these incredibly offensively gifted players, but they aren't as good in the defensive zone despite being a defenseman. And people always take that away from them, but you never hear anybody be like, "Man, Jacob Slavin doesn't score enough." And Slavin, obviously, I think upwards of 90% of people at this point right now would say he's the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. And that's fantastic. That's why he's on the list. But he doesn't score very much. I believe last season he had somewhere between 20 and 30 points, while averaging like over 20 minutes a game. So we kind of thought, you know what? Let's put the Slavin and Bouchard right beside each other on the list. We'll go, you know, one guy is all offense, one guy is all defense. Because as important as defense is, if you're down by a goal in the last few minutes, if you're up by a goal, Slavin's going to be out there all the time. If you're down by a goal, Slavin's probably not touching the ice, despite him being
And
one of
then
your more important players.
and then the reverse you can say with Bouchard. If you're up by a goal, he's not going to be
You
on the ice.
don't
But if
want
you're down by a
you
goal,
don't want him out there.
he's going to be out there, right? So when you put it that way, I was like, it makes perfect sense to have them
Yeah.
right beside each other. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
And
I think we just put
Necas-
Bouchard above because of the playoffs as well. I think that was kind of our tiebreaker
Mhm.
between those two. He's seen
Yeah,
more action,
'cause-
so
Yeah, and then Martin Necas, I mean, for what he was doing at the beginning of last season with Carolina, was their leading point scorer at the time he was traded to Colorado, and has continued to do that, and even to start this season has looked incredible. And again, one of the faster players in the game. Overall, is a incredible player. I feel like he doesn't get talked about as much because 90% of the time he's out there. Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar are both out there, so
yeah.
when he's out there most of the time, he's the third best player out there. And so you kind of don't get talked about as much, but overall, in terms of skill and what he brings and what he can deliver, it makes so much sense to finally include him on this list, and
Yeah.
has a very good chance to keep climbing this list. It kind of seems like
Yeah.
he's only just continuing to kind of get better and better.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a good chance he probably cracks the top 30 next season. Honestly, I think he can move up that much. And I think another thing that kind of hurts some of his I don't know, star power, I guess, when people look at him, is not only is he playing with, Makar and McKinnon, but he's also having to fill the shoes of Mikko Rantanen. So as good as Necas looks out there, if he puts up 90 points in a season, then people are just that should be incredible, 90, 95 points. But people are going to look at him and be like, oh, Rantanen would have had 50 goals and 100 points. So they're kind of making that comparison, which is both fair and unfair in different ways. So, but
Absolutely.
I think Avalanche fans know how good Necas is, and I think Hurricanes fans probably have for a bit now.
And they do miss him. I know that.
Yeah.
Moving on to 35 to 31 here. At 35, we have Tage Thompson, was not ranked last season. 34, JT Miller was ranked 26 last season, so a fall of 8 there for JT Miller. 33, Brady Tkachuk was ranked 34th last year, so he does bump up by 1 spot. 32nd, Jake Gensel, he was ranked 36 last season, so he does move up by 4. And at 31, I believe this is our biggest jump potentially on the list. I don't know for sure, but I think so.
I would imagine so.
Philip Forsberg not ranked last year, so not on the list all the way up to 31.
Yeah. That's one of those points where it's important to note again that we are doing this near the start of the season this year. Last year, we did it at the start of the calendar year or just after Christmas time. So by that point, we had seen the Predators be really bad for a couple months. And that's why Philip Forsberg wasn't on the list. If we did these at the start of each season, how we plan on doing it going forward, I imagine we would have had Forsberg on the list.
Would have been on the list to start last season. Absolutely. And
yeah,
I mean, Tage Thompson, it makes all the sense why he's on here now. Bit of a down year a couple years ago, but has really kind of come back and, been the driving force up front for Buffalo. JT Miller, again, still a very good player, not quite, what he was a couple of years ago. Still a fantastic player. I think he would still be potentially a bit higher if he was still in Vancouver. Brady Tkachuk only moves up 1 spot, but again, injuries and, I felt like he didn't really improve overall in terms of like production wise over the past year. I mean, in all the headlines because of, Ottawa's in the playoffs last year and 4 Nations, but felt like he didn't really do much to move up too much higher than only one spot.
Yeah, I think a
As
lot
much
of
as I love
people have
Brady Tkachuk, don't
expected.
get me wrong, but
I think a lot of people expect Brady Tkachuk at some point to kind of get up to the level of Matthew Tkachuk. I don't know. I like his game a bit more, but
the
for that
potential
overall
is
point,
there for him to. It's just, will it happen?
was
Is
was
we
he
haven't seen it.
injured in the playoffs or during the playoffs?
Um,
Was he still injured?
I think he had to have been.
I would agree because watching the playoffs last year and the Four Nations, um, he played way harder in the Four Nations.
Yeah.
And like you would expect that compared to regular season. But when, that's the first time the Sens made the playoffs in quite a while, you're their captain, you know, you
Yeah,
assume he's injured
still
because
feeling he was still feeling it for sure.
yeah. Yeah.
Jake
Gensel moves up
Gensel,
a couple spots.
well
Had a
deserved,
great
had a
first
great
season.
year with
Yeah,
Tampa,
with the Lightning.
absolutely. And then Forsberg, I mean, we already talked about that. You know, last year probably if we did it when we're doing it now at the start of the season, should have been on the list, but we were pretty
Would have
low
been
on
on the list.
Nashville. Um,
Yeah. He probably would have
at the
cracked
time, so
around same spot around 30.
he would be around in here, yeah. So
Yeah, like he's
good on
been one of the
Forsberg
elite
to
goal scorers.
be on the list here, and we won't make the mistake again of leaving off here.
But we'll get
Hit
into
us
the
with
top
the
30 here.
Yeah, and we got a couple big fallers here coming up, so buckle up for this stretch here.
Yeah, we have at number 30 Artemi Panarin, who was 10th last year. So that's a fall of 20. That might be the biggest fall off we have,
Yeah,
unless there's somebody who is completely off the list.
no,
Um,
that's the biggest fall off. Well, actually, no, Heiskanen.
oh
Heiskanen
yeah, I
actually is. He
guess
was 28th to off the list, so
so.
just
That's a fall of I
barely
guess
beats
32
Panarin for
ish.
the biggest faller.
Um,
22, 22.
oh yeah, you've always been the math one. Um, at number 29, we have Adam Fox, who was 12th last year, so a big fall for him as well. 28, Josh Morrissey, who was 42nd last year, so a big jump for him. And number 27, Roman Yossi, who was 18th last year. And at number 26, Victor Hedman, who was 19th last time we did this list. So did all of them drop except for Morrissey? All of them
Yeah,
dropped by a good bit. And then Morrissey jumped up 14 points.
and obviously Rangers fans are not going to be happy seeing Panarin and Fox both there. But again, if you listen to the podcast, we don't ever say anything really bad about Adam Fox. Like, we give him so much praise, and it's actually kind of
I
got
feel
to the
like we're
point where
some of
we
the only
talk
people that
about
don't
him
hate
like
him.
he's underrated at this point due to how much he
Yeah.
seems to get criticized now, which I think is wild. But again, it kind of goes back to last year. Rangers, a bit of a down year because of that. You know, everybody basically on that team struggled. It felt like outside of Vincent Trocheck, honestly, and Matt Rempe, because why not? So
And not only
we
did
couldn't
they
really keep Panarin and Fox where they were based on
Yeah.
what happened last year.
Yeah.
That's
And
all it
not
is,
only
really.
did they fall off, but maybe they were a little bit extra high on our previous list because they were just coming off of winning the President's Trophy, right?
Hmm?
So they also overachieved a little bit the season before, combined with the lows of last season now, kind of makes for a perfect storm for their guys falling down a bit. But both still making the top 30, and I don't know if Panarin's going to stay there too much longer. I think his days of climbing the list are mostly done, but Fox, I definitely expect to be higher than 29 next time we do this list.
Absolutely, yeah. Josh Morrissey, I mean, what more needs to be said? Another fantastic year for him. Just kind of one of those guys that a little bit of a later bloomer than what people kind of thought he was going to be, and hasn't looked back since. Has continued to trend more and more upward. Not much more to be said than that. He just keeps climbing
Great
because he
playoffs.
just keeps getting better.
Yeah. He's one of those defensemen that I feel like gives a lot of teams false hope on some of their guys. They're like, this guy's
Yeah.
been a top 4-ish defenseman for us for 5 years, but I really think he's going to break out and be that Josh Morrissey story for my team, and might gaslight a couple of fan bases into thinking they have something that they might not.
Potentially could have
Roman
got
Yossi.
that in Philly with Travis Sanheim if the Flyers didn't start to go downward. Now that then the talent's kind of got lesser and lesser over the years, starting to climb back up a bit. But
Yeah.
I feel like if Travis Sanheim was in a Josh Morrissey position, he could be one of those guys.
Now you don't end up on Team Canada by accident, so
Exactly.
at least for the 4 nations, we'll see if he makes it this season for the Olympics. But Roman Yossi falling from 18th to 27. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Nashville was rough last season. So, like, the fact that Yossi was able to only fall 9 spots is, frankly, shows how good of a season he kind of did have.
Yeah, all things considered, absolutely.
And Victor Hedman, 26 from 19. Yeah, I mean, he's going to turn 35 this December, I believe. He's starting to show his age a bit, but he's still one of the more elite defensemen in the league. I think that's a good spot for him.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's any fault to Victor Hedman's, but I feel like a big reason why he kind of did fall off the list is as he continues to get older now, because like you mentioned, he's going to be 35, more kind of got put on his plate last year. And that's because, Mikhail Sergachev being traded.
Yeah.
So as Hedman's getting older, they're now expecting him to do more and more for the team. And that's very hard to do. So while he still had a very good, year last year, it does kind of feel like it wasn't what we were expecting. But again, taking into perspective everything, he was required to be doing a lot more than he probably should have. And that's nowhere near his fault because he was still fantastic last year. And there's a lot of guys above him that just had really good years last year and are climbing the list.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's hard to feel too bad when you look at the skill of each guy at this point on the list that are above and below each player. Like everyone at this point is very solidly elite.
Very much so. Absolutely.
Do you want to hit us with 25 to 21?
To 21. Yeah. So 25, we have Kyle Connor. He was ranked 35 last season, so a bump up of 10 for Kyle Connor.
Great
well-deserved
season.
and well-deserved on his new extension. At 24, Jack Hughes was ranked 30th, so a bump up of 6, for Jack Hughes. Zach Werenski at 23 was 32nd last year, so an increase of 9 for Zach Werenski. At 22, Matthew Tkachuk staying exactly where he was 22nd last year. And at 21, Igor Shesterkin, 16th last year, so a fall of 5 for Igor.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense that Shesterkin only fell 5 spots. Like, it makes sense that he fell so much less than Fox and Panarin because, a lot of the team had a down year last year. I guess for his standard, he kind of had a down year last year, but like he still had like, what was it, a 915, a 916 or something on a team that ended up missing the playoffs, right? Like they
missed the playoffs.
He still on an individual level, I think, had a great season, even after signing that massive extension. So yeah, I think 21's a good spot for Shesty, and I wouldn't be surprised if he climbs back up into the top 20 as soon as next season.
Absolutely. And, at 20, 25, 24, Kyle Connor and then Jack Hughes, respectfully. 2 players we love to talk about, and I could talk about them a lot, but pretty short and simple. Kyle Connor, continuing to just improve and has really kind of, made his mark as an elite player in the league here. Now, Jack Hughes at 24 could make the argument, could be much higher, but we couldn't give him too much of a bump because we want to see him stay healthy for a full season. It's pretty hard to include a guy in the top 20 that we haven't really seen much of in the playoffs and we haven't really seen him play a full season. So it was really the highest we could move him. Zach Werenski, I mean, what he did last season speaks for itself for the jump. We're both very high on him as one of the better defensemen in the game. And then Matthew Tkachuk didn't really improve last year, didn't regress, made the 4 Nations fun, but unfortunately got the injury. and
I
in the
think,
playoffs didn't quite dominate that he had previously. He had some moments and some good games,
yeah,
absolutely, but there weren't many of those moments that we saw in the previous years in Florida's runs where he was kind of the driving force for that team.
yeah,
And it's probably due to injuries. Like that's
yeah,
I think that's the
exactly.
same as Brady. They put their bodies on the line in four nations, and they kind of had to deal with that throughout the rest of the year. Well,
Yeah,
that's what hockey players do.
I think we could have potentially had Matthew Tkachuk a little bit lower than last season because of the injuries, and so his production was a bit weird, especially in the regular season. But at the end, we kind of looked at it and we were like, I mean, he won the cup again. How far down can you move him, right? Like
Yeah.
that's so the results kind of speak for themselves. So yeah, I like all these spots. Jack Hughes, yeah, he went up 6, and like that's because he looked so good in those first 50, 60 games that he played last year, but then he got injured again, and uh I still think he's one of those guys that's just got bad luck. I don't think he's an injury prone player. I think I think he's just had a couple of bad luck stretches, and I think eventually we're going to see him string together a
Yeah.
couple healthy seasons. And like he's a guy that I don't think it's a hot take to say he could be in the top 10 conversation. Like this is a guy that could challenge for Hart trophies at some point.
The way he's already started off this season, he's already going to be climbing it for sure. Health permitting, absolutely. I think now we can move on into the top 20 here. Do you want to hit us with 20 to 16?
Yes, sir. At 20, we have from the Vegas Golden Knights now, Mitch Marner, who was 21st last year, going up 1. Uh, 19, William Nylander, who was 23rd last year, so a bump of 4. At 18, we have Sam Reinhart, who was 24th last year, so a bump of 6. At 17, Braden Point, he was 14th last time, so goes down 3. And at 16, we have Jack Eichel, who was 25th last year, a bump of 9.
And Eichel's probably going to continue to climb this list if he continues doing what he's doing right now. Is you know most points in the league right now, and
He's one of the
not
Hart
showing any
front
signs of
runners.
slowing down. I think he is the Hart front runner right
Yeah,
now. So obviously Braden Point is the only one fallen down in this list, and I think the best way to put it for Point is great year last year. Good showing in four nations. It's basically just guys moving up in the
guys
list. It's
passing
not
him.
really like Jack Eichel being one of those players moving past Point. It's just
Yeah,
guys climbing the list. It's not really him regressing or anything. Obviously,
well, it looks like the guys that we actually also have at 15 and 14 both move up past him. So there's your 3 spots right there at 16, 15, 14. So
yeah.
just a couple of guys moving up past him, all having great seasons. Yeah, like
Reinhardt, Nylander, Marner. I mean, it kind of felt right just having these guys all together.
it feels like a separate tier, doesn't it? Like they're all very comparable players. Maybe not in their play styles, but in terms of how much value they bring to their team. I think it's very
Yeah, and obviously
similar.
Reinhardt getting the highest of the three, because I mean we get to see the most out of him out of the playoffs, and he shines the brightest out of these players in the playoffs.
Yep. And then we
If
had
there's a
Nylander above
tiebreaker, it
Marner.
goes to who gets it done in the playoffs, and 4 goals in a cup clinching game. I mean, that's gonna get you the tiebreaker over the other
Yeah,
two. There's not much more to
absolutely.
be said on that one there. Yeah, I don't. I feel like that kind of speaks for itself a little bit. Nylander over Marner. You could argue back and forth on them. Absolutely. Again, playoffs was kind of just the way we're leaning. Is it kind of feels like Nylander is always the most dominant Maple Leaf come
Yeah.
the playoffs. So again, you get that little extra bump because of that.
Yeah. That's really what it came down to, was because we are going back and forth on Marner, Nylander, who should be higher, because Marner's got the better defense a bit, but Nylander's better in the playoffs, and in the end, we decided, you play for the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So
Playoffs is, you can put up 100 points all you want in the regular season, but if you get smacked around come the playoffs, it's you lose a lot of value there, unfortunately.
yeah,
Marner's still obviously like a very good player. Like we've kind of
he's still in the
bashed
top
on
20.
him in comparing, but still a very good player. And well, looks nice on Vegas. I don't like to say it, but it's pretty nice on Vegas.
Yeah.
Wrapping up or did you have anything left on these?
No, I was gonna get to the next 5.
Okay, yeah, so we can move into the next 5 on the list here. Am I doing this one? Yeah, I'm doing these guys, right?
Sure.
Yeah. At 15th, we have Andrei Vasilevsky. He was 17th last season, so a bump up of 2 for Vasi. At 14, Rasmus Dahlin was ranked 27th last season, so a bump of 13 for Dahlin. At 13th, here he finally is, none other than Sidney Crosby. Was 15th last season, so he does increase on the list by 2 at his age. At 12th, this one's kind of weird. Connor Hellebuck was 11th last year, so he does fall 1 spot on the list despite winning the Hart Trophy. And at 11th, we have Mikko Rantanen, 9th last season, so he does fall 2. Again, for Hellebuck, I will just say he's the top goalie on the list. We do have him at 12, which people might be mad about, but he is the top goalie we have on this list, so that's all you should take away from that. Because again, how do you compare Connor Hellebuck to Mikko Rantanen?
It's very difficult, and I think we could have had him as high as knocking on the door of number 5, 6, 7. But the reason that we did have him outside the top 10 was solely because of the playoffs, because he won the Hart Trophy. Like, we wanted to have him up there, but it's also back to back. It's crazy. It's back to back Vezinas, but also back to back. Not average showings in the playoffs. Not even really bad, but like borderline
he kind of pulled it
unacceptable.
together near the end of this last.
He was not too bad against Dallas.
He did have a good 4 Nations.
He had a great 4 Nations, yep.
But again, it was mostly the biggest thing is to just
that Blues series. Yeah,
that was
rough.
Was a rough go.
Vasilevsky being
at 15,
second goalie. I mean,
second goalie.
Second
in
Vezina voting.
Shesterkin, but yeah, I feel like Vasi just kind of had the better year last year, so
yeah,
made more sense on there. Rasmus Dahlin, I mean, he, I feel like everybody knows he's kind of good, but he doesn't really get that recognition because he's on Buffalo.
I do think I think at this point he's not one of those underrated players because people do know, but
he just doesn't get talked about as much.
Yeah, I mean, we've never seen him in the playoffs. How can we talk about him in the same light as the rest of this list? Like, everyone from here on out is, at least over the past few years, has been a pretty consistent playoff participant. They at least get there because, it's hard to be a top 10 player in the league and have your team not make it. And the guys who aren't in there every year are very good when they do get there. So, yeah, I would love to see Dahlin make it at some point. Who knows when that'll happen with Buffalo? Could be this season, could be never.
To get there. Sidney Crosby, I mean, not much needs to be said there. Like, still one of the best overall players in the game, despite getting up there in age. Great showing in 4 Nations. I mean, already to start this season has looked incredible. And then Mikko Rantanen, I mean, up until the final game of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think he had the most noteworthy performance in a game. Obviously, that being the game against Colorado there in the first round, knocking out his former team. Up until, obviously, the one we talked about before, Sam Reinhart dropping 4 goals in the cup clinching game. I mean, how do you not? That's obviously got to be the most noteworthy one, but
I would still think it's Rantanen's personally, just because so many of the goals were like him just taking over. Like, most guys aren't shooting from where he's shooting in those moments. The like wraparound goal. I believe
So
both of them had an
normally I
empty
would,
netter in their
yeah.
performances.
So normally I would 100% agree with you. But at the end of the day, one guy wins the first round of the playoffs, the other guy,
Yeah,
won the was hoisting the Stanley Cup, and
yeah,
that's, I mean, but normally I would absolutely agree with you.
yeah. They're both very memorable for different incredible reasons.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, Time for the top 10 here. I think now we are finally into the top 10 here of our list. I will let you just kick it off, and we'll just
Break down 10 to 6. At number 10, we have David Pasternak, who was 8th on the list last year, dropping 2 spots. At number 9, we have Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov, who was 13th last year, so moving up 4 spots. At number 8, we have Austin Matthews, who was 5th last year, moving down 3 spots. At number 7, we have Alexander Barkov, who was 20th on the list before. So that's a jump of 13 spots. And at number 6, we have Quinn Hughes, who was 7th on the list before. So jumping up 1. Um, these are all game breakers pretty solidly. I think we've been in that spot for a little bit, but yeah, like it feels so weird looking at how good Pasternak did on a very rough Bruins squad last year, especially in the back half once
pretty
he
shitty
traded
Bruins
people,
team.
um, and still dropping 2 spots. But it's the guys who passed him are Kirill Kaprizov, who until he got injured, looked like the Hart front runner last season,
Yeah,
and just
and
signed
then
the biggest contract we've ever seen. And
did look
who
very
else
good in
passed him?
Minnesota's short playoff
Yeah,
run last year as well. Looked really good coming back.
and the other guy who passed Pasternak is Barkov, who just captained his way to his second cup in a row. So,
And
I
has
mean,
locked down some of the best players in the league, like guys that,
yeah,
two guys that, or I guess 3 guys that we haven't even mentioned on this list. He has owned it at points in the playoffs over the last couple of years.
yeah,
So I think the bump is very well deserved. He's going to be probably the hardest guy to rank on this list next year, because by the time we do the next one, he won't have even probably played a single game. So that's going to make it a bit tough. But as of
yeah,
right now, I mean, what he's done the last couple of years absolutely makes
yeah,
all the sense that he's worked his way in here.
yeah. Um, Matthews dropping 3 spots. I mean, we still wanted to have him in the top 10 at least because we know how good Matthews can be. He's still the best goal scorer in the game, but he had injuries last year that led to, the obvious dip in scoring, quite a few less games played. I believe he had, was it less than 30 goals last year for the first time in his career? Or
Um,
was it less than 40? I wouldn't be surprised if he's always scored 40 goals.
I'm actually not too sure what he ended up putting up in terms of goals last season. What do you have there?
It was his lowest goal scoring season of his career, with only 33 goals. What a bum in 67 games. Still 78 points, so like points per game, that's still probably around in a full 82. That's still probably around like 93, 94. That's while being injured and all that. So,
Yeah, and then also, I mean, had a pretty brutal Four Nations, all things considered. Was not a great showing for Austin Matthews, and again, part of it probably is due to the ongoing injuries he was dealing with, like that. We've given that pass to some other guys, and uh, also, I mean, in the playoffs, didn't have a horrible playoffs. What was it? Three goals, 8 assists
yeah. 3
in
goals, 8
13
assists for
games.
11 points, 13.
So again, like
It's
not
not
an awful playoffs, but for Toronto's best player, for
you
their, number one goal scorer, the guy that's supposed to be scoring a lot of the goals, it wasn't quite there. So
I was gonna say point per game, like a lot of the time, I mean, there are some mutants who just go off in the playoffs, but most guys, if you're even if they're some of the best in the league, if they're around a point per game in the playoffs, you're fine with that. But when it's Austin Matthews, you also need quite a few of those to be goals, not 3 goals, 8 assists. Like it's good that he's putting up the points, but he's got to bury more than 3 in 2 rounds.
Yeah, completely. And then Quinn Hughes at 6. I mean, increase of 1 spot. He was, I think, for a good parts of last season, the Norris front runner until those injuries occurred, and did end up missing 4 nations, and Vancouver did end up missing the playoffs. So he didn't get those moments to shine, but when he was playing, I mean, he was showing that you could make the argument that he is the number 1 defenseman in the
numbers
league.
were staggering.
He's not the number 1 defenseman we have on this list here, but the fact that he's even kind of making it a conversation amongst some people, he's worked his way into the top 6 here.
Yeah, if he didn't have that injury, for my money, I do think Vancouver makes the playoffs if they have him healthy for the end of the year. And if that happens, I think he ends up winning the Hart Trophy. Personally, I think he would have won the Norris and the Hart if he was able to stay healthy, which it's really too bad we were kind of robbed of getting to see that. But he's still looking pretty damn solid to start this season. So it's like you said, he's making it a conversation about who's number 1 on the blue line in the league, and that's crazy considering like what the other guy we have on here has already done. But with that, I guess we can get on to the top 5.
The top 5, and we can just, when we go through them, we'll just roll through them one at a time and work our way up to a surprising number 1. At 5, Leon Draisaitl, 4th last year, so he does move down 1 spot, and if it feels kind of weird. I mean, not much else can we say. Like Leon Draisaitl, we still know how good he is. He has beat the narrative that he's carried by McDavid or needs McDavid. He's proven over and over again that he can get it done by himself, and it at times over the past years has outproduced McDavid on separate lines while playing with lesser talent than what McDavid gets on that top line. And he drops 1 spot, but he hasn't done anything wrong. He's still a rock star. Can't even say anything bad about him. But dominant in the playoffs, dominant in the regular season.
It does feel funny having him drop a spot, considering from 2 seasons ago to last season, he had 11 more goals, the same amount of points in 10 less games, and won the Rocket. 33 points, 11 of them goals in the playoffs. Dude's absolutely unreal. It does feel goofy that we're having him drop a spot, but it's not because he's dropping a spot. It's because somebody leapfrogged him.
Yeah. So do you want to hit us with who leapfrogged him here at number 4?
Yeah, at number 4 we have Cale Makar, who was 6th previously on our list. So he's the one who jumps Draisaitl to number 4. I mean, reigning Norris Trophy winner. What did he have?
I think
30 goals, and I think it was 90 points even.
Just continuing to get better. And as good as he already is, as many awards and accolades as he has, he's still only getting better.
Yeah. He's already up to 15 points in 11 games on the season. As a defenseman, it's just so goofy. He plays so many important minutes for this team. It's weird because I feel like when he was younger, people were overrating how good he was defensively. And now that he's refined his game a bit more, now I feel like all of a sudden people are treating him like he's bad defensively and he's all offense. It seems like people can somehow never seem to get it right. But back-to-back 90-point seasons for a defenseman is insane. And I think it was that 30 goal mark that really put it over the edge for us to have him move up a spot.
Yeah, absolutely. At number 3 here, we have your boy here. We have Nikita Kucherov. Was ranked 3rd last year, so staying in the exact same spot. I'll just throw you the floor and let you talk
Yeah.
about Kucher.
Kucherov is, I mean, at this point, I think you could probably guess who the top three are and probably in what order. But Kucherov coming off of his second in a row Art Ross win. He won the Lindsay last year, 144 points, then 121. Like, dude is just a playmaking machine, just a point producing machine in a such a unique and different way compared to the rest of these elite players. Like any of these other guys we've talked about in the top 10 can just like at will go like end to end and score. Like they're and not to say Kucherov can't do that, but his style is much more slow the game down until he can make the perfect seam pass, which is always just so fun to watch. So yeah, I mean, he's a winger, so that's a little bit less valuable to some people. His defense is actually a little bit underrated. He's not, I wouldn't call him a two-way forward. He's not going to get Selke votes anytime soon, but I definitely think he's not one of those one-dimensional wingers that doesn't play defense. Similarly to Draisaitl, I think Draisaitl is very underrated defensively, or at least was until the Selke narrative came along this past offseason. Now people are paying attention to it, but one of the best offensive players in the game at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have much to add on to that. I think you broke it down perfectly, and easily could be second, could have moved up one spot. But at number two, staying at number two from last year, Nathan McKinnon. And then I guess we'll just throw it out there. Number one, Connor McDavid, staying at one.
Yeah.
Like everybody, there's no surprise there.
Yeah.
It's,
we're not
to
going
me,
to
it
be able
is
to
still
keep
the-
in me saying Connor Dewar in the other recording.
Yeah.
We're not going to trick them.
I
would have
mean,
fallen for it too.
This is still the 1 and 2 for me, as I
Yeah.
feel like it is for a lot of people. I mean, Kucherov's right in there, and but what McDavid and McKinnon do, and especially it's kind of hard for guys like Kucherov and Draisaitl, and because they didn't get to play in the Four Nations where we got to see McDavid, McKinnon, and they were incredible for Team Canada. And McDavid, I mean, in the playoffs again, doing his thing. McKinnon, a workhorse, is always a beast in the playoffs. Unfortunately, going out in round one to a very good Dallas Stars team. But again, it's kind of it feels like the consensus 1 and 2 amongst most people around the league. We didn't go in a different direction. We kind of went with the basic narrative, but it's the one that still kind of just makes the most sense.
Yeah. I think we really had a tough time at that 2-3 spot. We kind of had it like a 2A, 2B, but at the end we kind of looked at it and we were like, I mean, McKinnon in the playoff, our tiebreaker. Again, we go back to the playoffs. 7 games played, 7 goals, and 11 points in total. Like he was a goal a game in the playoffs
against a good Stars team as well.
Yeah, a very good Stars team. So it felt like we kind of had to put him above on this iteration of the list, and we never even really had the conversation about not having McDavid at 1. Bro's already at 150 playoff points in his career. Jesus
and
Christ.
I will also say a big thing with McKinnon is there wasn't any drop off or anything with Rantanen being gone. There was a lot of talk about that, and obviously Martin H is still good. He was a big riser on this list, but he's not the level of Mikko Rantanen yet, and McKinnon still made it work.
Yeah.
Which
you really didn't see much change in his production at all, frankly.
Yeah. And then like you said, I mean there was no debate. McDavid was staying at 1. Definitely deserves 2 after taking that discount with the Oilers.
Yeah.
Great hockey player, great human, and staying at number 1, and we'll see how long he stays there for. Probably quite a while, though.
Probably quite a while. Although I will say, frankly, like it feels weird to say, but the way that Quinn Hughes is making an argument against Cale Makar, like it still feels like it's Cale Makar, right? But like there's that little bit of you where it's like you're kind of unsure, but Kucherov, Nathan McKinnon, these guys are making me think that about Connor McDavid a little. Like, not that I think they're better, but it's crazy that they're playing as close to McDavid's level as they are. Like, that's back-to-back seasons now where we're getting to the end of the season and it's okay, who's going to win the Art Ross? Is it Kucherov or McKinnon? It's been those two for the past 2 years now. And obviously, McDavid's still incredible. He's had a couple injury things and also the insane playoff performances. But
The playoff
like,
runs are
like we said, McKinnon,
incredible.
7 goals in 7 games. I mean, if his team keeps going, you know, maybe he puts together one of those runs as well.
I do see what you're saying.
But I do think it is still McDavid's spot to lose at the moment.
Yeah.
It would take some mind-boggling numbers to change that very easily.
But we are at the end of the episode here of our second take, the official one here. A little bit longer than the first one, but hey, that just means you guys get a little bit more hockey talk out of us and a little more in depth. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But that is our official 2025-2026 NHL season. Stick 'em up top 50 list.
I think we did a good job with it.
I don't got anything else to say. I usually do the outros for the podcast, so I'll just throw the floor to you here and let you bring us home here and wrap this one up.
Fair enough. Yeah, this is a YouTube exclusive, so if you've gotten all the way to the end, hopefully you didn't just skip here to see the end of the list, which would be weird, frankly, because you can assume who's going to be number 1. You can't assume who will be 50. But thank you to watching to the end regardless. Like, subscribe, share the video if you think somebody else will enjoy it. Comment if you think we're idiots. Comment if you think we're smart. Let us know. We love the engagement. We love talking with you guys. We've been getting a lot more people reaching out to us on our different platforms lately, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's why we're making it. We love talking hockey, and it's fun, and it's always more fun when somebody tells you their opinion on it, even if it's a Habs fan telling me I'm a schmuck for leaving Caulfield off the list.
All part of the game. It's all part of the game.